We want to warn you, some of the footage you're about to see is disturbing. Surveillance video shows the moment that a man drove a pickup truck into a crowd of people celebrating the new year on Bourbon Street early yesterday morning. He drove onto a sidewalk, bypassing a police vehicle. At least 15 people were killed in the attack and 30 others injured. The driver then opened fire at police and died in the resulting shootout. 2 officers were also shot, but they are in stable condition. According to the FBI, the suspect was a 42-year-old U.S. citizen from Texas. He had an ISIS flag mounted on the back of the truck that was used in the attack. Officials are now looking into whether the terrorist group was indeed involved. The vehicle was rented from the car-sharing marketplace Turo. Authorities say they found weapons and potential explosive devices in that truck, and at least 2 IEDs may have also been planted near the scene of the attack. 3 U.S. defense officials tell NBC News that the suspect served in the Army. He was deployed to Afghanistan in 2009 and was honorably discharged as a staff sergeant in the year 2020. Yesterday's attack was the deadliest act of a mass murder in the U.S. in more than a year. Only a few of those killed have been identified so far. Joining us now from New Orleans is NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch. Jesse, good to see you. What's the latest there from that shaken city?
Jonathan, good morning to you. I am standing outside of the Superdome. It is set to host the Sugar Bowl this afternoon. That game was initially supposed to be played yesterday, last night, but that has been postponed because of the events in the early hours of New Year's Day. This is also set to be the host site for the Super Bowl in less than 2 months. So a lot of attention on the security situation here right now. I can tell you that people coming to this game today are to expect heightened security measures. Among them, people parking at the Superdome itself are subject to security screenings. I can also tell you what we've seen over the last 24 or less than 24 hours. When we got here yesterday morning, the barricades along the curb here stopped back there, but now they extend to the end of the curb. And there were always going to be a lot of people watching this football game, but now it and this city are under the microscope for a very different reason.
Hours after that bloody attack on Bourbon Street, growing questions about the physical barriers used to secure the area. Devices known as bollards, typically short stainless steel posts, are often used in high-profile parts of cities and towns to help control crowds and vehicles. But on Bourbon Street, the bollards weren't there. New Orleans' mayor explained that the system was in the midst of repairs.
Bollards were not up because they are near completion, with the expectation of being completed, of course, by Super Bowl.
The game set to be played in New Orleans next month. The superintendent of police says other barriers, like police vehicles and officers, were in place to secure Bourbon Street on New Year's Eve. But video shows how the attacker drove right around a patrol car.
So we did indeed have a plan, but the terrorist defeated it.
Anything that is currently in the midst of being repaired had a backup replacement for last night.
Vehicles and officers were there where all of those ballasts have been. We had that. We knew. So we did have it. And like I said, in this particular case, terrorists just went all the way around up onto the sidewalk.
Was someone getting up on a sidewalk considered impossible or nearly impossible, or was this not something you expected you would have to account for?
Yes, of course, it wasn't something we expected to account for.
New Orleans, the latest high-profile deadly ramming attack following the German Christmas market attack last month, the Berlin truck attack in 2016, and the one in Nice, France that same year. Jose Liris was visiting New Orleans and left the area just before the attack.
The metal barricades were not up, just the standard plastic ones like you see there. There was police there at the entrance, a lot of police there, but the metal barricades were not up.
A city website showing what the new bollards may look like says the project is set to be completed next month. But a nationally televised college football playoff game is supposed to be played here. New Orleans City Council member Helena Moreno says the city is ready.
Do you think New Orleans can host a football game here this week safely?
I'm going to tell you this, that right now, so many resources are being deployed down to the city of New Orleans that no doubt about it, we will host a safe game. everything from federal resources, state resources, additional intelligence, like you name it. It's like that's all happening.
And Jonathan, I want to go back to that press conference exchange I had with police there for a moment. Again, they say they did not think they needed to account for a vehicle going up on the sidewalk and plowing through Bourbon Street that way. But clearly, those gaps were wide enough for a vehicle to make its way up onto the curb and go down that very busy street on New Year's morning. And all of this is happening, again, with the Super Bowl set to be held here in less than 2 months. A lot of questions unanswered at this point about the security preparations and the thought that was going into that ahead of that major global event. Back to you.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. There won't be questions about why those bollards weren't fully replaced and repaired ahead of New Year's Eve and these two high-profile football games coming to New Orleans. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch. Jesse, thank you so much.